Of loading a gel and running it. So once our gel has cooled, we can remove the comb, and if it's cooled properly, you'll feel a little bit of resistance here, and then you can see upon closer inspection that you have just the wells that you intended. It's always easier to remove the comb first and then to loosen this, and now you have your cast. You can move that into a tray. It's good to make sure that the TAE is sort of fresh, especially if you plan on cutting out and using DNA from your gel. That is to say, if you want to use your gel to actually separate DNA rather than to just verify that something has happened. So now we just need to load the wells, and in this case, I have 2 PCR tubes. Move this out of the way. 2 PCR tubes here, to which I've already added loading dye, but you can see that it's just sitting there at the bottom. So one of the good things to do here is as you're about to load it, it helps to mix it up. So you can see after pipetting up and down, it's all a uniform color. And take this, and you want to try to not get too many bubbles in. And then you can better see the wells. It might be hard to see on camera, but these little orange things help you see it against the clear background. And you can see that I'm just filling up a well there. It all nicely sits in that one spot. I'm going to do the same for the next. Again, everything here is at the bottom. We don't want that, since part of the purpose of the loading dye is to keep the DNA weighed down. I did a bad job there, I got a lot of bubbles, but I'll try not to pipette them out. So if you do get bubbles, like I just did, you can just stop and you can keep them in your pipette rather than getting them out. The reason why the bubbles are bad is once you start to pipette bubbles in, it'll push the DNA out and kind of lift it out of its well. So for every gel that you run, you're going to want to use a ladder. A lot of us like to have pre-mixed ladder. So this is a 1 kb ladder from NEB, also mixed with some loading dye and already in TAE buffer. You usually just need 1 well volume of that, so if you make sure it's sort of mixed. I'll just take 12 microliters here, since that's the size of one of these wells. And I'll just load a well. And you can see that I have an empty well, that's fine too. For a lot of the gels that you'll run, you'll still have like an empty space or 2 or 3, and that's fine. So now I'm going to take one of these lids. One of the other things I should have mentioned before is, at least at this gel station, your gel boxes are usually oriented the right way, but you want to make sure that you put this cartridge in such that the negative side, or the black side, is on top. Because DNA is negatively charged, it's going to move towards the positive electrode, and you want it to run the length of your gel. Occasionally people have done this the wrong way, and all your DNA just comes out of the top of the gel, and that's bad. So you want to just put this lid on, and you can see that it's attached to a power source. Turn on the power source here. For a typical gel that you will run, you want to turn the dial to 90 volts and a time of 60 minutes. Or about 60 minutes. Okay. With TAE buffer, and for 60 minutes, 90 volts is not so much voltage that your DNA will get hot. If you want to run a faster gel, or if you don't care as much about your DNA, you can increase the voltage and reduce the time, but you just want to be careful. And there are some guidelines, I think, described about this in the protocols document. So we're all set to start running our gel. So once we are, I'm just going to click on run. And you'll know your gel is running if you see little bubbles start to emerge out of the back. That might also be hard to see on camera, but I can clearly see that there's this wave that's kind of coming, and I think you can see it on camera. It's like this gray line right there. So now we have our gel running.